Hey guys, how you doing? This is Coach Keyon Corniffe Sr. I'm here to talk to you guys a little bit about finance. I'm really excited to teach with you guys. If you never know me before, well, welcome to my channel. Welcome to Understanding Finance. And I'm going to break down three things today that's going to make it very simple for you to understand. We're going to break down what is your FIN number. That means your final income number for retirement. Also going to talk about number two, what is your budget? How do you set up your budget? What are some of the things that you have to learn? And number three, you're also going to learn about where to save that money as well. And number four, you're even going to get a bonus of what is in store for you to learn. So just a little bit of background about myself. My name is Keyon Corniffe. Some people call me Mr. Finance. I'm 33 years old. I've been in the industry for the past 10 years now. You know, one of the things I focus on is educating families, because before this campaign, I used to work 3 jobs. I used to work from 3:45 in the morning to 11:30 at night, and I hated it. And because of this campaign, I was able to go full time with it and started learning. You know, I'm currently licensed in over 20 different states, and I educate families in many, many different locations, even internationally, teaching them some of these concepts. So that's why I want to share them with you, because they're not just something that's pertaining to the US, it's something that could be used globally. And once you understand it, you will know how to implement it. So that's why I want to share that with you guys. So what I want you to think about is, what are some of the things that concern you when it comes to your finances? What are some of your major concerns? Because I want to help you to really put yourself in a winning position. Now, here's the thing. It's important for us to learn financial concepts. And we also got to understand the rules to money as well. But like I said, we're going to keep it basic today, because our coaching program breaks all of that down so that way you can learn how to do it. So that's what I'm going to share with you. So what I'm going to share with you is some concepts, and then I'm going to tell you what do you do next if you want to get more information. All right. So here we go. Get your pen and paper ready. We're about to go into learn mode. All right. So today we're going to talk about three things, right? Like I said, we're going to talk about your FIN number. We're going to talk about budgeting, and we're going to talk about where to save that money. So the first thing I want to ask you is this. Do you currently know what do you need for your retirement? Right? When it comes to retirement, guys, you got to know what you need. And then number two, you got to know, well, how much you need to save when it comes to your retirement. You got to be very specific on this number. The problem is that most of us do not know this number. And because we don't know what are these numbers, we're just winging it out there. So that's why it's so important and so crucial for you to learn what is your FIN number. Now, let's break it down. What is your FIN number? It's your final income number. Now, what is your FIN number? It helps you to know what you need for retirement and also tell you what you need to save. So let me give you an example. Imagine we sat down with you and you are 30 years old and you said to me, Keyon, I want to retire at 65 years old, right? You want to retire at 65. Well, I would have let you know that the average person lived to around age 85 years old. So what do you do with all this number? It's quite simple, guys. What you do with this information is that you learn how to plug it in, right? So how do you plug in this information? Easy. Did you know that they say the average person think they're going to need around $5,000 a month for retirement? So here's the thing. Let's break it all down and put the numbers in play. First thing you got to know is where you are now. What's your current age? And then you got to think about where you're trying to be later. When do you want to retire? And then you got to plan for the end, which means that you got to think about, well, what's the average life expectancy do you want to live to? But let's use this as an example. Now, the later, and the end. So let's say that you're 30 years old now, and you want to retire at 65 later. And let's say that you plan for living to age 85, which is the average life expectancy for someone. So the first thing we got to figure out is the need. So let's talk about the need. How do we figure out the need? Well, based upon the fact that the average person think that they need about $5,000 a month coming into them, well, let's plan for that. Well, we know there's 12 months in a year. So we're going to multiply 5,000 by 12, and that would then give us $60,000. That's how much they would need a year, right? So now if you're planning to get money from the age of 65 to 85, that means you would need an income coming in for the next 20 years. Simple math. All you got to do is take this 60,000 right here, 60,000, multiply by the amount of years you're going to need that money coming in. And now you take 20 times 60,000. That means you will need to have $1.2 million saved up by the age of 65 in order to receive $5,000 a month coming in or $60,000 a year for the next 20 years from 65 to 85. So you need 1.2 million. But it's one thing to know how much you need. It's another thing to know, well, how's your need going to be taxed when you need it? And there's three ways money get taxed, guys. Your money either going to get taxed now upon distribution, or it's going to get taxed later upon distribution, or it may get taxed never upon distribution. The question is, do you know how your distribution is going to be taxed when you need it? That's why it's important to learn how to get taxed never upon distribution. So that's how you find out the need. Now let's talk about how you find out how much you need to save. Simple. Well, you're going to take the need of the 1.2 million that we just discovered here, and then you divide it by the amount of years that you have to save. So from 30 to 65, that would mean you have 35 years in order to save. So then you take 1.2 million divided by 35, and that will give you around $34,000 plus that you need to save a year, or $2,800 plus a month. Now let's think about this. Which average 30-year-old you know out there that can still live a lifestyle, build their family or their career, and still put away $2,800 a month and start to grow their funds? It's very rare. So that's the reason why we got to learn how to use our W-2 to start a 1099 business on a part-time basis. Eventually, what will happen is that your part-time business will put you in a position where it could then outpay your job. Now, guys, if I could show you a way how to do this and create a business on a part-time basis that could help you to generate the funds that you need for your retirement, that's what I'm here to help you to do. That's why it's important to learn your FIN number, because what you learn is that working a 9-to-5 job alone will not get you there. But now, let's say that you now know the need. We got to figure out, well, what's your budget? You got to understand your budget, guys. You got to learn your budget. So now the question I want to ask you, do you currently know what is your 50, 30, 20 formula? Have you ever heard of this formula before? Have anybody ever teach you this formula? And if they haven't, it's quite okay. Here's something I want you to know. Budgeting is not tracking spending. All right? Budgeting is not tracking spending. We have heard that stuff being said so many times, and it's incorrect. Budgeting is not tracking spending, guys. You know what budgeting is? Budgeting is, number one, knowing how much you can save, and number two, also knowing how much you can spend. That's what budgeting is. You got to know these two things: how much I can save, how much I can spend. Now, in order for the budgeting formula to work, you got to know two things. Number one, you need to know what's your net pay. That's the number one thing you got to know. And then number two, you got to know, well, what is my total monthly expenses? How much is my monthly bills amount? All right. So let's use an example. Let's say that you make $3,000 a month. And let's say that your monthly bills was $2,400. So in this example, let's point out the obvious. The obvious is that you make $3,000 a month and your bills is $2,400. It is fair to say that you can pay your bills. No problem. But remember, budgeting is not about paying bills. Budgeting is about knowing, number one, how much you can save and how much you can spend before you do either one of them. So that's the reason why at this moment, you got to learn the concepts. So this is how easy the concept is. You draw 4 boxes, all right, just like this, and you label them. The first box here will be called the bills box. The second box is called the spend box. And the third box down here is called the save box. And the bottom box down here is called the result box. All right? This is the result box. This is what your box will look like. Now, before you start implementing the box, let's roll over here real quick, sidebar, and we got to learn the rules to the budgeting formula. What are the rules? Right? What are the rules? Now, the rule says 50% of your income should go towards the bills. All right? 30% of the income should go towards spend. And then 20% of the income should go towards save. And the formula that you're going to use is where you take the net pay and you multiply it by the percentage, which then equals the money, right? That's the formula. So now let's implement this formula in the bills box. In the bills box, it looks like this. You always take your $3,000, multiply by 0.50, which represents 50%. By doing so, you get $1,500. So at this moment, you say, okay, $1,500 is in my bills box. My total monthly expenses is $2,400. 50% of my income cannot cover my total monthly expenses. That's okay. 95% of Americans or people around the world can't do the same. It's only a small elite of people that can do that. That's okay. That's why we got to live on a budget. Now, let's look at the bills. Come back again to the spend box. Take your $3,000, multiply by 0.30, and that's for the 30%. Now, that will equal $900. Come to the savings box. Same thing. Take your $3,000, multiply by 0.20 for the 20%, and that will then, in return, give you $600. Now you have all the money on the table. We got some decisions to make. The question that you got to ask yourself is, where do you take the money from? Do you take the money from your spending box, or do you take the money from the savings box? It's obvious. You got to take the money from the spending box. But the reality for many of us is that we take it from our savings box because we like to spend. If you take this money from the spending box and get zero here, draw this 900 over here, and as you will see, when you add it, you get $2,400. Now, isn't that the $2,400 that you need to pay the bills? In most scenario, that's what it really looks like. Now, let's say that for whatever reason, you had extra money here. Any extra money that is left over in the bills box or left over from the spending box, you always want to take it and add it into your savings box. Because here's the thing. Let's say that your scenario is like this. Well, isn't it fair to say that 20 is 600? Right? Because that's 20%. So if 20% is 600, well, 20 is 600. So now the next thing you got to learn is something called the 10, 5, 5. It's a very simple formula. So the 10, 5, 5 is like this. If half of 20 is 10, that means half of 600 is $300. If half of 5 is 10, right, then half of 300 is 150. Same thing here, 150. So it's called a half rule. So you break down the 600 into a half rule. So the first 10 represent the money that you save towards your retirement. The other 5%, the 5 right here, the 150, this is what you use for your emergency fund. This is the emergency fund money, because you need to have at least 3 to 6 months of your money saved up for emergency. So in this is the case, if you're making $3,000 a month, then you need to have saved up $9K in that account. And the other 5 that is here, this is for the money that you use to spend, right? That's how you're able to track what you can save and what you can spend. Now let's break it down now. Let's base this off of you get paid, right? Let's say that you're somebody, they get a paycheck every week, right? Let's talk about your pay. Let's say that you get paid every week. How does this work for you? It's quite simple. All you're going to do is take your monthly expenses, the total amount. And if you get paid every week, all you got to do is divide it by 4. If you divide it by 4, it tells you that, hey, every week when you get paid out of your paycheck, you got to put away $600 towards the bills. And then every time you get paid, for you to save $300 a month, you take the $300 here, divided by 4. That means you need to put away $75 every week. And then the $150 that you need to put towards your emergency fund, every week you get paid, you got to put away $37.50. And as far as the money that you could spend, $150 divided by 4. That means each week you only can spend $37.50. This is how you could track your spending and how much you're saving when it comes down to your budgeting. That's the power of living on a budget, guys, and understanding how to use this simple formula. Now, the next thing you got to ask yourself is, well, Keyon, if I could save my $300 a month, where do I put it? Well, that's the question everybody asks. Where to save? Where do I save money? Well, let's break it down. 4 things you got to ask yourself when you're going to save your money and save it or invest it. Wherever you put your money, can you put your money where you could get growth on that money? That's the first question you got to ask yourself. Can my money grow there? The second question you got to ask yourself is my money going to be safe? Does my money get a lot of safety there? Can I ever lose money there? And then number 3, you got to ask yourself is my money protected? Is there any protection for my money wherever you tell me to put that money? And then number 4, Does my money get some tax advantages? Meaning that when you need that money, do you have to pay taxes on that money? So if you can say yes, yes to all 4 of these things that you want for your money, what if I tell you that there's a place that you can put all your money and you can receive all of this in one area? And that's why it's so important to learn all these fundamentals. So what are the 4 things you're able to learn in our campaign and learn throughout my coaching program, guys? Here, let me show you what I want to teach you. And I'm going to help you to create 4 things that you're going to learn throughout this coaching program. Number 1, you're going to learn how to create your own FIN number. You will know what's your FIN number. And number 2, you also know how to put together your own budget plan. You know how to put together your budget. And number 3, you definitely will learn how to create a stronger financial foundation. That's what you're going to learn here, right? You're going to learn that here, how to create a stronger financial foundation. And number 4, you're also going to learn about wealth formulas. All right, you're going to learn about wealth formulas. So that way you can use this money and start applying these concepts to them to build up your savings and investment. This is what's so powerful here, guys. So what's pretty much your next step after this? Quite simple. If you're interested and want to learn more about finance and you want to start learning how to implement all these things, guys, all you have to do is just text. Text your full name. Text your full name to 973-873-5977. And what's going to happen next is that you will then get a return text that asks you to fill out a short survey, and that way we'll be able to help you out. So all you got to do is text your full name to 973-873-5977. And you can definitely go check out my website at BShynazLegacy.com. So that is BShynazLegacy.com. And we'll look forward to continue to empower you. So guys, that's how easy it is. So I hope you get a lot more insight on that. And it was such a pleasure to share that with you. So my name is Keyon Corniffe, also known as Mr. Finance, your favorite financial educator, business coach. And I look forward to empowering you. Remember that you're one decision away from changing your future for the better. So always remember that the choice is always yours. I see you guys at the top. Until next time, peace.